Welcome to another podcast. Today we're going to be talking about keyword research, the things you need to know when it comes to finding the right keywords, how to utilize them, everything. And Ryan, you're going to explain everything to us.
Yeah, absolutely. So right from the get-go, keyword research is critical in any marketing strategy, especially when you're talking SEO and SEM. So the foundation of keyword research is basically to find out two things: how many times a keyword is getting searched every month, and also how competitive a keyword is. And with these data points, you can formulate content strategies. You can bid on keywords in Google Ads. Basically, you need to understand those two data points with any keyword before acting on any sort of marketing strategy.
Gotcha. And so keywords, they determine what kind of traffic hits a page. Explain keywords a little bit
potentially.
more.
So it's a little different because like there's global volume and then there's average monthly volume in like the United States. So in my premium tool that I use, it's called Ahrefs. SEMrush is another big one. With these tools, what they allow you to do is you can type in any keyword and it'll spit out data for how many times it's searched every month, both in the United States and globally. What the average CPC is, or cost per click, if you're going to run a marketing campaign or Google Ads campaign for that keyword, and also how competitive it is. So typically what they do is they have a 1 to 100 scale, 100 being the most competitive, 1 being not competitive. So with that baseline data, that gives you, enough opportunity to formulate a content strategy.
Now, with the competitiveness, when I'm in there looking and stuff, do you see as low competitive as always a good thing, or does that mean that just nobody's looking?
So it's a grab bag. So my sweet spot is I typically like to look in Ahrefs about 1,000 searches a month is kind of my baseline average searches. And then competitiveness. So here's the caveat. If I'm a brand new website trying to crank out content, I refuse to do anything higher than a 10 keyword difficulty on Ahrefs scale.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason being is I've come to find out, one, some of that data is not always updated. So if you do a quick search on the Google search page, you'll quickly see if Ahrefs data is updated or not to that keyword. And anything above 10, honestly, it's going to be, you're going to need a lot of backlinks. You're going to have to establish domain authority for you to compete anytime relatively soon for keywords above 10 that I've come to find out through, pages and pages of content that I've created.
Wow, that's amazing. So how many keywords do you think are necessary when approaching a landing page or
like a blog post?
Blog post, yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of the SEO content side of things, typically what I've seen and what the experts recommend is about 2 to 3 keywords a post. You have your main keyword that you want to hit, but you should also have 2 to 3 other, longer tail keywords in that piece of content. So sometimes you're going to go after just plainly one keyword, but a lot of times, like some content marketers and PR people don't really understand, is you want to add those 2 or 3 long tail keywords in one piece of content. It's not one piece of content equals one keyword. That's the thing that people miscomprehend.
So with the long tail keyword, would you put those in your H2s or would you put those in the paragraphs? Where do you want to put them?
Both. So your main keyword, there's a lot of SEO optimization stuff you'd want to do, your meta description, your alt text and your images, your H1, multiple times throughout the body of the content. But those other keywords, those longer tail, 2 or 3 keywords in the blog post, like you said, you do want in at least 1 or 2 H2 tags, H3 tags, and you do want it, depending on how long your content is, you do want it spread throughout your content as well.
Gotcha. So you kind of just put it in anywhere. Do you get in trouble for redundancy?
So Google always talks about like duplicate content. That's like a big thing that they push out, but from what I've seen in past experience, I'm not so certain duplicate content is as big of a deal as they make it out to be.
So repeating the keyword throughout the copy is not too big of it. The long tail,
that's keyword stuffing. So it depends. If you're like blatantly keyword stuffing, if you have a 500 word article and you're throwing 50 of the same keywords in one 500 word post, that's going to be keyword stuffing. But if you're throwing 10, 20, sometimes 25, 30, then that's not that big of a deal from what I've seen.
Gotcha. So you don't think Google gets after you too much? What are some other more important things when considering keywords? Because you just sit and you see these huge lists. Sometimes they tie it to states, which can be nice because you can take a regional focus, right? But when you're doing it, especially national, which is where we want to be usually doing, what are some tricks you've found to finding the beautiful keyword?
The sweet spot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the sweet spot that I've found, like I've said, I look at both keyword difficulty and the average monthly searches. The sweet spot that I found for creating a brand new website, if you want to get on the first page of Google, is with that 10 keyword difficulty on Ahrefs. Now I know SEMrush and all these others have different rating factors, but it's relatively the same. 10 out of 100, and then also 500 to 1,000 monthly searches a month is kind of the sweet spot. If there's more, excellent. But typically in a competitive niche, that's not going to be the case. And then once you have that, then you can type in that same keyword and it'll filter out longer tail keywords. So that's the beauty of using these premium tools like Ahrefs.
Is that the matching terms?
Exactly.
Option?
Yep. It's the matching terms option. So you have your one keyword that you want to write. Well, let's say there's other, 2 or 3 other longer tail keywords that you can knock out either in one post or multiple pieces of content. These tools will spit that data out as well with those longer tail keywords.
Just like all the other tools that we utilize to talk about, what I find when doing this research is that you get some ideas from it too that you would otherwise not have thought of, like, oh, wow, we can get in front of this particular audience. And it's actually something completely different. So that's one reason why I like these tools is that you're always getting ideas and not even expecting it.
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing I use all the time is Ahrefs Site Explorer. So I'll plug in a lot of competitors' URLs and you can filter by top pages. And what that does is it shows what keywords they're showing up for, what's bringing the most traffic. And then I just throw down on a spreadsheet, I can outrank them, let's go.
How to beat them. Look for the little holes, looking for all the little gaps we can fill. Anything else that's vital to keyword research other than investing in professional tools? Would you say that free? Because I remember using the free stuff, and it's just too limiting.
Yeah, I get that question all the time, where it's like, well, I don't want to spend $100 a month on a premium tool. Well, first of all, if you're serious about your marketing strategy and keyword research, that's almost a must, really.
Yeah.
But to start out, if you're brand new and just learning, Uber Suggest from Neil Patel, I think they have a pretty extended free trial. The Google Ads Keyword Planner is free to use. Also, Google Trends is a pretty underutilized tool.
Yeah, Google Trends is great.
Google Trends is very underutilized. And the one thing I will say, too, back to the AdWord, the planner, so a lot of people don't realize when they're doing SEM campaigns how important keyword research is. So, people just want to say, oh, I want to rank on the top for this without fully understanding how competitive a keyword is, what the average CPC of a keyword is or cost per click. And they just want to go, floodgates open, let's just bid on this. And that can be very detrimental if you don't have the keyword research behind, keywords that you're going to bid on in a Google Ads campaign.
So one thing I think about is you almost need to change the story you're telling and adjust the campaign you're going to make based on what you might actually win by. Rather, so you might be committed to, I want to say it this way and tell this particular story, but what we're telling you from the keyword research and where you're starting at, it's actually better. Let's readjust and build based on what we're actually going to win at, as opposed to the way we want to say it. Yep.
So a lot of times I've had clients in the past say, oh, I want to show up one on Google for this term or these 2 or 3 terms. And then I'll do the keyword research data. Well, one, it's either $20 a click or no one's searching for it. So when I get that data, I look at longer tailed keywords and I get back to the client and say, hey, it's either way too competitive, you're going to spend $20 a click, or there's no one searching for it at all. So here's, 5 to 10 long tail keywords we can start with. And then if we start gaining traction, we'll start opening the floodgates a little bit.
To mess around with some other
Exactly.
stuff. And so this goes into, do you utilize this for your SEM research too?
I do.
Google search engine marketing, in case you weren't familiar.
Google Ads,
so
Bing
this
Ads.
is the paid placements at the top of Google. You utilize this keyword research for that?
All the time. Anytime I do a new Google Ads campaign, one of the first steps in the process is keyword research every time.
Well, real quick question. Do they do negative keyword research? Do they give you negative keywords on Ahrefs?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I didn't see that in there. I was wondering because that would be things to be aware of. Well, I guess they wouldn't because they don't know what you're selling, right? So.
Yeah, and that's a conversation for another day. We can talk about the importance of negative keywords and just kind of the ins and outs of Google Ads.
Yeah. I think we probably did when we were talking about it. But so what's your strategy?
With keyword research, if I'm starting a new content strategy on a website from scratch, a lot of times you'll have clients that'll say, well, I want to rank one on Google for these 2 terms. And then you do the research behind it and you figure out, well, that's super competitive. That's not possible. So you got to return back to the client and say, are you familiar with long tail keywords? And then you give them, 5, 10, 15, 20 longer tail keywords of that base keyword that they want to show up for. So the play there is you write pieces of content going after those longer tail keywords where you can have an excellent chance, if done well, of ranking 1, 2, or 3 on Google. And then once you build up traffic and domain authority with these longer tail keywords in a particular niche, then that's when you start going after the more, competitive base keywords. That's the general strategy.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think that what's interesting, even when I first began learning how to run ads, not not SEO, but ads, where did they start? They actually started with keyword research, and to build, even setting up your Facebook to have keywords in mind when setting up your Facebook, because you can even get some Google search from that occasionally. Sure. So, which I don't know where that's at today, but that just keeping all of that in mind when you're building out these strategies, that optimization for search is like the base level of everything we're doing, and you almost want to build your creative around that instead of the other way. Yeah. Right. Unless you've got a real brand thing you're pushing.
And one thing, just a flaw that I've noticed in a lot of PR and content writers is most people just write to write. Like there's no keyword research that goes into, if a client says, I want 5 blogs, and they ship it out to an agency or they ship it out to some freelance writer, it's just 5 blogs about, general topics on whatever their company or whatever their niche is. There's no keyword research behind any of this. And I've seen that to be a major flaw in a lot of people's content strategies, is the lack of keyword research, or, none at all that goes into these content.
Yeah, if a keyword falls in the forest and nobody hears it, does it make a click? Right. But essentially, no one's gonna. If no one's looking at your site, then you wasted a whole bunch of money on these blogs, a whole bunch of money on all this stuff. The way we leverage it is by.
Well, I got a better joke for you than that one.
Oh, okay.
What's the best place to hide a website? Oh shit! I fucked that.
It's page 2.
Yeah. I'll say. I got another joke for you.
Okay.
What's the best place to hide a dead body?
Where?
On the second page of Google.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. Perfect.
And a lot of that is because of keyword research and the lack thereof.
I do get to the second page sometimes, but that just means they did a poor job of providing me what I want. Well, I think keyword research is critical to whatever you might be doing. Ryan is an expert in all of this, and I bring what I can bring to the table here too. And we have a ton of fun doing projects like this for clients. So if you have any questions, reach out to one of us, and we'll get back to you. Even if you are even planning on spending money, just talk, and we love to collaborate.